Alright, this is going to be a quick video on how I do my splatter effects. I get that question a lot. What tools do I use, or how do I go about getting the splatters that I get on my pages? So there's a couple of different things. The ink matters. If you use the same ink that you use, when you're dipping your nib to splatter with, versus some ink that may be thicker, you're going to get a different effect. And I'll show you real quick. One of the things I also do is you can get, just if you have an old credit card or expired card of some kind, just get a card that's what you want to use to flick with your nib. And I don't splatter everything with a toothbrush. That gives you one effect, and you want to have many effects when you do different splatter techniques. So this will also help you get a directional effect. Get a little bit more control. So this is the same ink that I would use, when I'm spotting my blacks or whatever, or using my brush. And now I'm going to use Pro Black. That's like a thicker acrylic base ink, and it's real thick. I don't know if you can see. It's really pretty thick. You're not going to ink with it with a nib, but I'm going to do this right over. You'll see the difference. Try to zoom in a second. You'll get these cool stringy sort of effects. Try to zoom in a little bit. Kind of like when you throw paint with a brush or whatever. And it's going where I want it to go. So it's all natural. So you see the difference. I can't get that goopy, stringy stuff with regular ink because it's just too diluted, too thin. So that's and the nib. As far as the nibs, it matters what nib you use too, because if you use a stiff nib, you're going to get something different than versus if you're using a softer nib that's a little more flexible. You'll get a different effect. And then another thing that I'll do is I use this drawing gum, and I'll show you the difference in using that versus the typical just use white. Use the same nib. When you use this stuff, you want to make sure your tools are clean. And where I use this is in the black, where I know I'm going to spot blacks, like right here. And this will have the same consistency as that thick black ink, so you'll get the more blobby splatter with it. You can get fine splatters too, and you can also dilute that stuff down. The thick ink, you want to let it completely dry before you put anything like that on your scanner. That takes a little bit longer to dry than the thin stuff. Try to think of something else. You can use your finger. I'm not going to do it because I don't want ink all over my wall. I've used my fingers to just kind of flick ink. Let's see. There's the whole toothbrush thing. You can use your finger like that to splatter it. I prefer using a card, a little bit more control. But I don't use the toothbrush a whole lot. But it's good if you want to mask something off and then sort of go to town with it. Alright. This is almost dry. I'm going to just go for it anyway just to show you. So the idea would be to go in and splatter in where you're going to spot your blacks. And this is my approach. This is just how I prefer to do it, you know, when I want to break up some blacks. So we'll just get this little area in here. Since we're going to let that ink dry, I'm going to do this area over here so I can show you spotting the blacks, or splattering with the white ink, the difference comparison. Let's just do a little section. So while that's drying, should be able to zoom out here. The blacks, this one's almost dry. You want to let it completely dry when you do this. You don't want it to start tearing into your paper or lifting up the black. This thicker ink is pretty much dry. It's dry already. You can see the difference in the two, or the three. So you want to range when you do your splatters. In my opinion, you want to have a range of different techniques. Alright, that's pretty much dry. Usually you can use your finger, rub it away. I prefer a kneaded eraser. It gets it up. And you want to just kind of feel around, make sure you got it all up. In case you need to do any nib work. But the cool thing about it is you can go in, if it's, you know, say that's too heavy, it's too much splatter or whatever, you can cut into it now with your brush. It's a lot more clean way of working. With the white, once you start painting this black on it, it kind of can start to get kind of goopy. You can also, depending on how heavy you went, you can go in and throw some lines in there. Get sort of a gradation effect even. Just like that. Alright. So you got, I'm actually going to pause this real quick since I got a phone call, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm going to do the white now. use the same idea with the card, if I can find it. Choose a different one. Do the same thing. Not spattering with the toothbrush or anything. It's just go heavy in a spot so you can. So that usually takes a little bit. That dries a little slower than the liquid frisket. That stuff dries pretty quick. So I'll pause this again and come back when this is dry. Alright, so it's mostly dry, but not completely. It's taking forever. I went heavy up here. But I'm just going to mess around with it and see what happens. If I start to cut into the white like I did with the liquid frisket, it'll cover it, but I don't know if you can see this, but it's starting to, it'll kind of start to pick up some of the stuff on your brush, so it gets kind of thick. And the more I go, it'll get thicker and thicker. Just, you know, same effect, but just not as clean as the liquid frisket side. And then if I were to go back over it again with the white, I want some more white. And back and forth, it just gets thicker and thicker. So this one, even if I took it down too far with too much black, and I decide I want more white, at least this one I have the opportunity of taking the white ink that I used and spattering over top of this, and then not touch it after that. Just a lot more control this way. So that's pretty much how I do my spatter effects on my pages. Just pretty much those 1, 2, 3, 4 different ways of doing it, I guess. So zoom out here and see if you can see the difference. Alright, we'll catch you next time. Maybe.